How are you?
I'm really doing well. How about you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm in the
I
barn.
think
You spent some time here. We had
I
the
know.
first ever Modern Quilt Masters week-long, 5-day long course with Denise Schmidt back in 2017.
Oh gosh, you have a good memory.
And I mean, the thing that's so amazing about you, Patty, is you are prolific. I mean,
Oh, well,
you just work quickly. It's so inspiring because you whipped out a quilt top in like a day. The first couple days I think we were here, and you were on to the next one. I was like, oh my God, her sense of design and her just fearless approach to quilting was so inspiring.
thank you. Thank you. That was a very, very fun time, and I feel like it completely changed my life.
Oh yeah?
I really do. I was not much of an improv quilter, and I had taken a class with Gwen Marsden at our Tulsa Guild, had her in a few years before, and that was my first time to really do things improv, which is a whole different way of thinking because you let it unfold, as you go. So taking it with Denise that week, it was like I found out that I went back to my room and I was about to cry because I was thinking, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just going to go back to what I'm familiar with. And I found out later in the week that everybody else came to that same point somewhere in the, time
Yeah.
we spent. It's just kind of a natural. I used to take painting lessons and people would follow the teacher up to a certain point and then everybody just go back to doing what they did. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. So how long have you been quilting?
I think my first quilt was, I looked at the label, I actually labeled it, which was smart. I think I finished that in 1993 or something like that, yes.
Okay. And so tell us like your journey into modern quilting and kind of what kind of moves you now. What do you like to create?
Well, I started out pretty traditional and quickly moved into putting kind of unique pieces of fabric together that most people wouldn't, but it made sense in my head. And so it just felt like the way I just thought it was what everyone else was doing. But then people would tell me I would never have put those two pieces of fabric together. So for a long time, dealing with, taking care of several people in the family as they were dying, I would just throw fabric through the machine to, keep my mind busy. And I had a lot of fun using somebody else's pattern, but then making my choices with fabric. So I did that for a number of years, and I'm trying to think. I know what it is. My friend Chris Fornell had a quilt shop, and we loved that shop. And we would go and, choose fabrics. And somebody in there told me that I should look into the Tulsa Modern Guild that had just started. So the first meeting I went to was, I think, their third meeting, and only two of us showed up. And now we have, I think, over 100 members, and it's just
Awesome.
wonderful.
That's
Yeah,
great.
so.
So everybody's asking about Bob. Can you flip the camera? Okay, that's good.
Okay, I'm going to flip it. Let's see if I know what I'm doing here.
Awesome.
I'm going to get back.
Okay.
There's,
Love him. Tell us about Bob.
okay, I did find the little piece of paper. I'll show it to you. Now that was my grandson's drawing, and I blew it up and I gridded it, and I was doing, I'm going to turn it back around. Anyway, I gridded it, and I'm like old school. I love doing things just by hand. So I made a grid, and then I taped a bunch of paper together, and then I drew the whole thing. And I was putting it in a 2-color challenge at Quilt Con. I forget who was sponsoring it several years ago. It was not, what was the year before this? And it didn't get in. And I was kind of discouraged because the whole time I made it, I kept saying to myself, oh my gosh, I love this quilt. And I just think people are going to laugh when they see it. And then it didn't get in. And so people had said, try again the next year. So I tried this past year. And when he got in, I think I did a little bob dance. And I mean, I was so
Is that
excited
like
because
a
I just
Jimmy?
had, Pardon?
Is that like
A
a Jimmy
shimmy?
dance? Like a bob
Oh,
dance?
oh yeah, not like a Jimmy. Hey, actually, that quilt behind me is Jimmy.
Oh,
um,
Jimmy. Okay, well,
yeah,
we'll have to hear about Jimmy too.
same thing, same grandson. But anyway, so yeah, I was so excited because it just meant a lot to me to have him hang up because I felt like it was so unique and different than what other people had done. And it was this has always been my go-to thing is if I have to compete with someone, I'm going to create a whole new category. So I'm just competing. You know, you get first place if you're the only one in a category. So I always try to make things, that were specifically me, So I
Very
loved it.
cool.
It was
Well,
fun.
we love Bob. Wait, somebody's commenting. Laura Zebra is commenting how she loves his belly button.
Oh, yes, yes. That was kind of fun. I think I literally giggled the whole time. I'm going to just do it this way. There it is. I think I giggled the entire time that I sewed that little
Is it raw
belly
edge
button.
applique?
No, it's not raw edge. It's all needle turn applique.
Whoa, that's impressive.
I love to do that at night when my eyesight's poor.
Way to
Go
challenge
figure. I don't
yourself.
know. A lot of good lighting, and I get to sit.
Yeah. So what else? What else are you working on now?
Oh my gosh, I am going to turn it around. Do you mind if I show you? I've been in a striped phase here.
Yeah. We want to see.
I'll turn it around, and I mean, it's crazy. So I'm in a kind of a crazed mood lately because of all this going on, and I had a few open days of sewing. So I made this, and I'm really, really happy with it. And then right before that, I had put some things in a show, and I'd made these little mini quilts, which I was really having fun making. So I started making these, and they are, I think they turn out to be, I want to say 7 inches square, and I frame them. But I made 9 of those. I have another one kind of started. You can see a little bit of my process.
Yeah, can you tell us about the construction?
Oh my goodness, that's kind of hard. I have all these little leftover pieces, and I created things. I'm not very good at this. I created little triangles with scraps I had, and then I'd frame them, and then you can see more here. And then I framed out with this blue tape the size I wanted it. And then I throw them up on the wall, and then I kind of put them near each other, and then I kind of audition other fabrics to see what needs to be between these two to transition. So then I sew a part together, and I sew another part together, and then they just kind of end up like that.
A question for you, because it's hard to tell when you're looking at something through the camera and not in person. Are you working with striped fabrics, or are those solid prints that you have then pieced together and then sliced up to create stripes?
I'm using striped fabrics for the most part. I'm trying to find if there's one. Occasionally, like on this one, I think I made the little stripe.
Got it.
But I'm including solids, and I'm including striped fabrics.
Okay.
Okay, so then those are I'm doing a bunch of those because people really responded well. And then I'm going to sneak over here. So I started making this because I made one years ago, and I was making it for a baby quilt, but the person wanted the other one, so I just kept going with it. And then when I cut these squares, I end up with smaller pieces that I can't make this large as squares. So then I'm going to come over here. So then I made smaller squares. These are just, you can see, they're only, I don't know, what is it, 2.5 inches? But then, this shows you.
There's more.
Yes, there is lots more. So then I take my strips. I set this up so you could see. I'll have little strips like this, and then like this, and then I cut, and I make 4 of those. So here are about 4, and then I sew them together, and then I turn around, and I cut them again, and I turn them around, This is crazy. See, this is what happens when you're at home alone for days on end. So then I audition brightly colored fabrics for that. So now I'll show you what I've been doing with those little ones. And this is a very tiny version. You can see how small they are.
Yeah.
A very tiny version of a bigger quilt that I had made years ago, and it's just so fun.
Yeah, I love it. Nice.
And then with scraps of scraps, I've been making, these are going to be little postcards.
What size are they 5 by 7 or what size are they?
4 by 6, they'll be 4 by 6. And I had a friend that I met at, I'm going to turn it around so I can, okay, I have a friend I met named Barb Burwell at the Joe Retreat, and she, just to encourage me during this time, I'm going to make you guys dizzy, aren't I? Let me turn it around again. She sent me this gorgeous card, postcard, wrote on the back, mailed it to me. Barb Burwell, and we met at the Joe Retreat, and she just sent it to encourage me. She's sending little cards to people.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, what retreat? What did you mention? The Joe Retreat?
Yes, with Joe Cunningham.
Oh, Joe Cunningham. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes. So I met her there. We had been following each other anyway on Instagram, and so anyway, I'm turning it back around. So we met there, and she mailed that to me, and I started weeping. I don't know why. I just think it was, you know, how everything's just hard, you know, and so it was just the sweetest to get a piece of art from someone.
Yeah, the connection.
So I sent a few postcards to people that had brought meals over to my house. I'd been helping with my brother who had surgery and my aunt who needed some care. And so they brought meals over. I mean, amazing. So I sent them a little postcard. So that's when I got started on the postcard. So
Patti, there's one quilt that there's a few, but the black and white, that looks familiar. I feel like I saw that in Curated Quilts.
You did. There are a few curated quilts up there. This is my favorite story too. I was tired, I think, when I entered it because this is the correct top and bottom, and I marked it wrong. And so it's in Curated Quilts sideways.
That's okay. It's abstract enough that it kind of works any way you look at it.
Yes. That was so fun, and that's another improv, and I love just throwing things on the wall, making units, throwing them on the wall, deciding at that point, do I just need to keep making more units, or what do I need to do? Here was the first one I entered in Curated Quilts, and it did not get in. And then this one got in. That one was fun.
How big is that?
Oh gosh, I can't tell. Usually about 16 by 16, I think.
And did you do the quilting on that as well?
Yes. It's so easy to quilt something small.
Yeah, it is.
It looks a lot better in the picture than it does in real life.
Two dolls on the right that I'm looking at.
Oh my gosh, I just love crazy things that make me look at these people.
They are interesting.
And this lady, I don't know. And here's the best one. She's a corncob doll. Is she just ugly but cute?
Yeah, I like her chair.
Anyway, I have to. My son's artwork. He's amazing.
Oh wow.
And anyway, Bob. Yeah, we got all these. And there's little Jimmy up there.
So tell us about.
This is another drawing. My grandson, and this was in Curated Quilts, the recent one.
How old is your grandson? And what is his name? Who is making these drawings?
Okay. So his name is Colin, and I inadvertently, at Quilt Con, gave credit to my other grandson.
I think I saw that.
Oh my gosh, I died. But, oh gosh, and if my daughter's watching, I'm going to be embarrassed. I have to do math going backwards from the oldest, but I think he was around 6 or 7 when he drew those, so.
Oh my gosh, he's very talented.
Yes, he sat on the couch and showed thumbs up pictures, you know, from home every time
That's
people
awesome.
rave about it. So yeah.
So Patty, tell everybody, we're getting questions what your Instagram handle is so people can follow you.
Okay, it's Patti Coppock, Patticoppock, just my name.
And then I follow you on Facebook, and you also have a page that I love it. Oftentimes I'll drink coffee in bed in the morning, and your posts come up. And tell everybody about that, the little design challenge you do.
Oh, well, oh, yes. Well, that one's funny because every once in a while I've been showing nature posts. My husband passed away a few years back, and just to stay positive, I'm so inspired by nature. I just started posting pictures of bugs and flowers and things like that. Well, occasionally the bug would look like some other thing, so people then would post a funny reaction to it. So I started this thing. It's on my regular Facebook page, but every day I say, what does this picture remind you of? And I find a piece of artwork, a pottery or something, and people write, oh my gosh, they just show pictures, respond by a picture.
Yeah, it's really funny.
It just makes me laugh so much.
No,
people are so much more creative than they know, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then you also, don't you have a page, I think it's called My Quilting Process, or what is that? In case people want to follow it, what is it?
Okay, it's a private group, but I think you can request, can you request on Facebook to be in a private group?
That's how I learned about it.
Okay.
And so
I think
for some reason you approved me, so I don't know.
I make mistakes at times. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Anyway, you don't know my humor, do you? But anyway, it's My Quilt Process, and I think if you search for that, you probably, you know. And if you end up, pardon?
Maybe Patti Coppock, and then My Quilt Process. Something will come up in the search field on Facebook for it.
Yes. And that one, it's pretty much just what you saw today was as I'm working. It kind of developed because people started asking me on the regular Facebook page, how, you know, like, how did you do that? And it would be a lot of people that don't quilt, and they wouldn't understand, you know, what makes a quilt and how you would put it together. So I thought I better create a separate group for that rather than bore everybody else. But it's really fun, and a lot of the people on there are not quilters, and it's just fun for them to see and say, now, how did you decide to do this and that?
Yeah. So what room, is this a room in your house, or is this a separate studio?
Well, I had a little studio area, and this was the living area, and I have this friend, Jane Swanson, that comes over and challenges me all the time. She just said, you have to consider making that your studio, and it took a while to get out of the conventional thought pattern, and I thought, I'm the only one here, why don't I just make this bigger room? So I just started building it as a studio, and then ran into, I had some in my house, so still not put back together. So I'm making this my little haven in here. So it's pretty fun. It's my favorite little place in the house.
So you showed us some amazing... Oh, go ahead.
I just have a question for you, Pokey. I think about you all the time. Have you not been interviewed? I think about you all the time. I think about your business relies on large group gatherings, and I'm just curious what we can do to support you at this time.
So thoughtful. I have canceled all my retreats here for the rest of the year. I had a retreat scheduled last weekend, and I rescheduled it for June. I did not feel right holding on to people's money, so I flat out refunded them. And then I had some retreats planned for the rest of the year and some guest teachers, and I'm just Hold on one second.
Okay.
It's just a deer. Calm down. My bigger concern is are you there? Okay. Hey, get back over here. I obviously run my big retreat is Craft Napa. This last year, hey, sorry, hold on. Guys, what is going on? Stop it, get over here. You're ruining my interview. So, yeah, in January, and I think, come here. Sorry. Come here. Come on in. Story time. Come here. Come here. Okay. We're all settling down. I don't know what's going to happen in January. I did speak to my insurance person in Napa. They've canceled everything in California. I mean, even Facebook is not having anything beyond 50 people through June of 2021. So
Wow.
so I'm concerned because I don't feel really comfortable hosting a retreat for 250, 300 people, which is, I was expecting about 300 this next time around in January, which is a peak winter month when we don't know if this is coming back and we don't know if the vaccine yet. I just can't ethically, morally feel like I can do that. So I am putting some contingency plans in place. I think I have some really fun ideas.
Good.
Think them through a little bit, but I still think something Craft Napa can happen in another way, but make it super personable. And different than any other kind of online deal that's happened so far. So I'm gonna think that through, and then I'm hoping once they get the vaccine to open the doors again, have everybody come. I do want to do a ton of smaller here. I really enjoy person-to-person interaction. Get at a especially, and I mean, you've been in the barn. I think that was a lot of people. There were like 15 people at that retreat. I felt like
it's not usually that many in the barn.
Yeah, no. I personally, I like around 6 to 8 people. So there's room to move around and have an outdoor barbecue and swim at the pool and enjoy the outdoors. That, to me, that's a sweet spot. It's between like 6 to 8 people. And then, but I'm still on the fence for next year, but I am planning some other things as contingency plans, in the meantime, because I think I have a lot to offer, even if I can't do an in-person retreat Craft now.
Yes. So, it's good that you're so creative, isn't it?
Well,
creativity to rescue.
I just kind of like see what sticks on the wall, like taking a piece of pasta, seeing if it's like al dente, and if it sticks. I'm not afraid to try things. I am afraid sometimes I don't take risks, and with holding an event when there's no vaccine yet, that doesn't feel like a sensible
right.
So I'm gonna kind of play it out. Everything's day by day. We understand. I think it was this morning I woke up, and what is it, Gilead, that pharmaceutical company? It looks like they're coming out with some really promising treatments for COVID-19. So, who knows?
I know. Well, hooray for creativity. Takes our brain to another place. We can stop the worry and just use our hands and make something beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. Patti, do you have anything else you want to share?
Oh, I can't think of anything. I don't know. I'm eating like a little piggy, like everyone else.
I'm calling it the pandemic punch.
Yeah.
That's my
name. Yes.
It's hot.
Oh, well. I'm walking a lot, good. So that's good.
Good.
Yeah.
If all was right in the world, where would you have gone to next for an event or a retreat? Oh
my gosh, this year is crazy. Well, Joe Cunningham was coming to Tulsa in a few weeks. No, Sherry Lynn Wood was already supposed to have come.
Has that been canceled?
And I was going to that. Yes, and Joe Cunningham, they canceled. I'm supposed to take, this is my year of going places. Maria Schell, I was supposed to go to Madeline Island.
Oh, it's supposed to be so pretty there.
That's in August, but I don't think that's probably going to happen. Yeah. And then the big one, Nancy Crow, in December.
You were going to take classes there?
I heard your comment, and I have been scared to death. But anyway, because I cry, I cry anyway, but I know it's a guarantee. So I just accept it. I'm going to bawl and, be challenged and come out at the end. So glad I went. But that's the end of the year, and I'm afraid that's not going to happen.
But what were you going to take?
Well, she's doing something different with Misa again, with Madeline Island, but it's in Tucson, and it's kind of more of a beginning level.
Okay.
And yet you still have to have like 150 yards of fabric and ship it ahead of time and, you know,
Oh,
so whatever.
that's awesome.
Yeah.